In this video, I'll discuss your first year as a PhD student and things you should do to be successful. Your first year as a PhD student is a lot. And it's going to be a lot because you're starting something new and you're transitioning between this idea of being a student, but being a scientist or a professional. This is a big transition, but here's some tips to help you get through it. The first thing that you should understand as a PhD student is coursework. The first 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, are primarily coursework, especially that first year. Some things to think about as a first-year PhD student are, how long should that coursework last? What are the typical timelines? I say 2 to 3 years, but it really depends on your program. Sometimes if you come in with a master's degree, that might enable you to skip some courses. And that doesn't mean that you'll take fewer courses because there are often credit requirements, but it might mean that you can take more advanced courses that really get you up to speed faster and into methods or innovative practices or just background that you'll find valuable. Are there required courses that there's just no way you're going to get out of? That's fine. What are they? Anticipate them. And learn to love them if you're not sure about the content, or just learn to deal with them. Either way, there are always required courses, and understand that they're there because they're supposed to be. Because other people, primarily the faculty in the program, decided that these are the basic things that everyone in our degree program should know. And this is true regardless of discipline. Treat courses like training. What is it that you're supposed to know? What are the big ideas or the methods that will get you to a place where you really understand what's happening in your discipline and can contribute to it in the future? Sort out the pathways that are available to you. Often in PhD programs, the first year there are these core courses that everyone takes, but then there are areas of specialization. So begin to understand, what are your pathways? What are some areas you could break into? If you're in the social sciences, will you become more of a qualitative or a quantitative researcher? And what do those pathways look like? What do those courses look like? Begin to do some planning so that you're in a position to take advantage of the courses that your unit or your program offers. The next thing to think about during your first year is research. You're starting a PhD, ideally, because you want to contribute to research. Now, whether that means you want to become a faculty member or professor somewhere, or you want to go into industry, that doesn't matter so much at this stage. Instead, the idea is you want to begin to understand how research happens, who does it, what are the questions that are asked, what are the methods that are being used, and you want to be in a position to contribute to that. Understand what your advisor is working on. What are the big projects that are happening in your lab? What are the big ideas that your current advisor is investigating? Find ways to contribute to those ideas. Now, I am very clear here when I say contribute. Often, first-year students feel a lot of energy and they're very talented and they want to do everything at once. And what this ends up doing is it potentially burns them out. So focus instead not on doing everything or on leading a project, but instead focus on how you can contribute to it. And often the way you can contribute to it is simply learning the methods that you're going to be using later. So think of contribution broadly. Think of how you can contribute to a paper. How can you help senior PhD students with their work? How can you contribute to their projects, whether it's helping with a literature review? And when in doubt, ask. Ask your advisor how you can contribute. As you're doing this, think of the possibilities. One of the most important things you can do as an early career researcher is ideation. What are the next questions that follow if we answer the ones that are right in front of us? What happens? What are the things I'm curious about? Find your path and find your ways to contribute. But most importantly, when it comes to research, listen and observe. When you go to lab meetings, just listen to what folks are working on. Observe how they go about asking and answering questions. It's through listening and observation that a lot of learning happens. What are the formal requirements that you need to finish your degree? If we start from the dissertation, what are the other program milestones that exist in your program? Get a feel for what they are, ask questions of senior graduate students, of the PhD advisor, of whomever might know the answer. It's important for you to know what success looks like, but it's also important for you to know what failure looks like. Just because you fail, however, it doesn't mean you can't try again, but understand the boundaries of what's possible during the milestones, because that will do two things. It'll help alleviate any anxiety you feel because you'll know what the possibilities are, and it'll also help you plan. Network with your cohort, the PhD students who started the program with you. Get to know them, but also network with senior PhD students, folks that have been there a few years. But don't limit yourself to students. Talk to other faculty. Talk to faculty who teach the courses that you're taking. Talk to faculty who don't teach those courses, just faculty you find interesting and whose work you find interesting. But cast a wide net because it's important for you to get to know how other people in your discipline work through the questions that are within your discipline. Get to know other folks because this will be a valuable resource for you later down the road when you have questions about your own research agenda or when you just simply want to know what opportunities are available in your discipline. Your PhD program may be narrow, but it's nested within a broader university context. And it's important for you to take advantage of the fact that you're in a university. Get to know everyone because you'll never know who you might meet and you never know which questions might be answered or which questions might emerge thanks to those conversations. What are some things that you want to do during your first year as a PhD student? Leave them in the comments below so folks can get some ideas.